Well, it will help us to reduce back pain, back injuries, strengthen it, condition it for various kind of sports and activity. It will also allow us to create more movement freedom as well. So hang around with us through this session and we'll be guiding you through how to go about strengthening and conditioning our torso. So let's get started. Today we will need a stick as well as a stool as well as a mat as well. So let's get going. I'm going to start off with seated movements first. Okay, so usually I start off with the standing ones. So today I'm going to start with the seated ones first. Okay, so from a seated position, where you probably are right now, I'd like you to bring your chin down, tuck your chin in, feel the stretch across your spine. Now round your shoulders, continue to feel the stretch across your neck, the back of the neck especially, and then slowly reach downwards, rounding the spine all the way down, and then coming back up. So what we're trying to do over here is just to wake up all the muscles. Chin in, slouch your shoulders, round it down, go forward, and then coming back up. So don't try to compress your chest towards your thighs, just simply go as far forward as you can or down towards your toes as far as you can. Take a deep breath in, exhale, chin in, shoulders round, reach forward. If you can feel the stretch across your lower back, that's a good sign. If you're not able to feel that, maybe because you're flexible, that's also a very good sign. Uncurl yourself and then bring yourself back up to a sit. Chin in, round your shoulders, reach down towards your toes. Inhale, coming back up. We'll try two more. Take a deep breath in, exhale going down. Nice and slow. Control your breathing and follow your breathing as well. And then coming back up, nice and slow. One last one. Looking forward, again chin in. Feel the stretch across the back of the neck. Round your shoulders, round your middle spine, lower spine, going all the way down, and then coming back up, nice and slow. All right. Now, next movement, if you have a stick along beside you, use that. If not, just put your hands by your ears, and we'll do exactly the same things. Okay, now with the stick on the back of your shoulders or back of your neck, slide it down towards your shoulder blades. So it's kind of like behind your shoulder blades right now. Try to make sure that you're sitting squared, stable. Both your sitting bone are on the chair. Rotate. And then going back forward, and then rotate. So try not to have that tilting motion. Try to have your seated bone on the ground, or on the chair, sorry, and then rotate. Go slow to go fast. It's a way for us to say that when you can control your movement nice and slow, as you get familiar, you can go faster. Okay, two more on each side. So rotate, make sure your sit bone is on the chair, and then coming back forward to the other side. Coming back forward, one last one on each side. Turn, rotate. Use the stick to give you the extra push, and then come back to a neutral, to the other side, and then back to a neutral. Now, next one I'm going to do, it's actually a side bend, okay? So you might not be able to see very clearly, but I want you to see it from the side. So you can see that my sit bone is still on the side, on the chair, and then I'm just rotating or tilting my spine, bring my shoulder as close to the chair as possible, and then back up. To the side, again, my sit bone is on the chair, my feet is on the ground, stretch, and then coming back up. So we want to awaken the supporting muscle group along the spine from the tailbone all the way up to your neck. We try one more on each side. Take a deep breath in, exhale going down, relax, sit bone on the chair, and then coming back up. Last one on this side. Use your shoulder to guide you instead of trying to force your head. So shoulders drop. Try to make sure the feet is on the ground as well. And then coming back up. Okay? So I hope you are done. Seated down. Come back up to a standing position and join me. So again, with the stick that you have, if you don't, it's okay. Just practice the movement. Okay, I mentioned this before with the pipe or with the stick along your hips or where your pockets are. This is where our pockets are. Extend your arms out. Push your buttocks as far behind as you can. Feel the stretch across your hamstring. Your weight goes to your heels, but your toes is still on the ground. So you can see that I can lift up my toes, but my heels is still on the ground. Stretching, stretching, and then coming back up. So before going to any form of activities or sports or fitness, just make sure you mobilize and activate your joints, as well as your muscle group, and more importantly, your breathing as well. So once your breathing deepens, your heart rate should also go up, and as your heart rate goes up, your muscles will also warm up at the same time. So again, press the stick in, feel the stretch across your hamstring, weight on heels, and then come back to a stand. Okay? Now, next one we're going to do is standing hip rotation, or standing torso rotation. The stick is on the shoulder this time. Do exactly the same thing like what we did earlier, seated, but standing this time. Okay? The challenge over here is that the body would quite naturally wants to go into a full rotation. Try to avoid that because we're focusing on the torso. So try to allow or make sure the hip is still square to the front. You're only rotating your lower spine. Deep breath in, exhale, turn. And then reset. Deep breath in, exhale, rotate. Deep breath in, exhale, rotate. Last two on each side. Deep breath in, exhale, rotate. Take your time again, like I said earlier, go slow to go fast. Breathe in, exhale, rotate. Breathe in, exhale, rotate. Last one on each side. Take a deep breath in, exhale, rotate. And one last one, deep breath in, exhale, and rotate. Okay? Now, we're going to continue on what we did earlier with the hinging. We're going to go down into a squat. So after activating the hip and the torso, let's just bring the movement a little bit bigger and wider. Extend it towards our peripherals, our toes, our ankles. So after the hinge, go down to a squat. Straighten your knees out, and then come back to a stand. Okay, we have about 5 to 6 times only. So push the stick back, drop your knees forward, straighten your knees out, come back to a stand. Deep breath in, push the stick in, knees forward, straighten knees, stand. Last 3, deep breath in, exhale, push your hips back, knees forward, straighten your knees, stand back, back to neutral. Last 2, deep breath in, push back, knees forward. Just a quick reminder, in this position, your back is still nice and straight. Straighten your knees, and then come back to a stand. One last one, push hips back, knees forward, knees straighten, and then come back to a stand. Okay, so that kind of concludes a very quick mobilization or activation. We're going to move on to our 2 power circuits. The first one, it's a little bit less challenging. The second one is a little bit more challenging. We're not going super explosive or super fast today. What I'd like you to do is be familiar with the movement. Again, go slow to go fast. Be familiar with the movement. Once you're familiar with the movement, you can always speed it up and challenge yourself to be more explosive, speedier, and perform more repetitions as well. So today we have 2 sets. So put the stick aside first. We'll need a stool in a while, but not yet. Okay, the first movement that we have is a push-up followed by a T-plank. A T-plank is kind of like a high side plank, okay? So get ready. Bring yourself into a high plank position. Now from here, you're going to lower your chest down. Push yourself back up. Notice my feet are spread apart to give me a little bit more stability. And then I'm going to raise my arm up. So this is T-plank. Hands back down, going down to a push-up. We're going to do it on the other side. Hands up. And then back down. Going down and up. So I'm going a little bit slower right now because I want you to see the balance and the control. But if you're feeling good about it, you can perform 2 reps for every repetition that I'm going through. I'm going to perform 3 more. So that makes 5 per side for myself. But if you're feeling good, try 10 on each side. Going down again and coming back up. This is my 3rd on the other side, which is kind of like my 6th. Going down and up. Stabilize yourself. Rotate from your torso. And then back down. I got 1 more on each side. Going down. Exhale, push. Hands up. Hand back down. Going down. And up. Rotate. And then take a breather. Okay? Now, next one, it's kind of like a fancy movement. You're going to go into your high kneeling position. Now, from a high kneeling position, place your hand on the ground. Since today's focus is on torso rotation, we want to activate and engage or challenge the torso movement as much as we can. So from here, from a high kneeling position, place one hand on the ground. You're going to stick one leg out. Okay, so notice as I push my leg forward, my body, my torso will have to move alongside with me. Okay, you can go into a sit like what I'm doing as well. The challenge over here is raise your hip up, pull your knee back into high kneeling, and then forward and back. Forward and back. Displace your body weight between your hand, your supporting hand, and your foot. Pull back and then forward. That will also challenge your hip socket at the same time. I'm going to switch on to the other side. So the hand is always on the resting knee. So my left hand is down, my left knee is down, okay? Use your right hand to support on your knee. Bring your left foot forward. Lift up the left hip, left knee goes back. And then forward. And back. Once you're familiar with the movement, like I mentioned earlier, you can always go 2 reps for every 1 repetition I'm going through. So I'm going through a nice, slow 5 reps. You might be able to go 10. Slowly as well. All right, and I've got 1 more. Push through and return. So this is called a sweep through, okay? So basically I'm sweeping my leg forward. Now, next movement that we're going to do, I'm going to use the stick first, just in case I fall, especially if you're not familiar with the movement, okay? We're going to go into a standard deadlift, but we're going to perform it with 1 leg. So, stand on 1 foot, and then from here, perform the usual deadlift with your leg straight or with the knee straight. And then from here, lower body down as far as you can go, and then coming back up. So where is the torso rotation? The torso rotation is over here, where you're trying to balance yourself. Okay, so lower yourself down as far as you can. Try not to allow your torso to rotate. Neutralize the hip position as you're going down, and then coming back up. Going down, and up. I'm going to try 2 more. Going down nice and slow. So while your hip is trying to rotate, to stabilize itself, you're going to try to neutralize it and avoid that from happening. Going down nice and slow, breathe in, and then breathe out. I'm going to switch side, stand tall, breathe in, going down. Straighten your knee if you can. If there's a slight bend, it's okay. And then stand. I'm going to perform 5, but you can do 10. And stand. 3 more, going down nice and slow, stabilize. Straighten knee if you can, if not, knees slightly bend. And then come back up to a stand. Last 2, going down nice and slow. And stand. So just an option. If you have a stick with you, you can always put a stick behind. And going down nice and slow. Reach as far forward as you can towards the ground, and then come back up to a stand. All right, so those are the 3 movements that we have, or I have for you today. We're going to repeat the whole sequence one more time. I'm gonna start off with the push-up T-plank. So going down to push-up position, just a quick reminder, shoulders over your wrists, okay? Feet slightly apart. Now from here, go down to push-up, and then up. I'm gonna perform 5 on each side. I challenge you to do 10 on each side, okay? Hand up, rotate, and then down, go down to a push-up, exhale coming up, rotate. Focus on the spine, torso rotation, and down. Going down again, and up. Push and rotate, hand back down, going down to a push-up, up, keep your pocket facing the ground, but torso or your belly button twisted to the side. Going down and up, rotate, and down. Going down, up. I got 2 more on each side. You could have 4 more on each side. Rotate, and down, breathe in, exhale coming up. Hips facing the ground, belly button to the side, and down, and up. Push and rotate. Last one on the other side. Push and rotate. Okay, take a breather. All right, now we're gonna perform the sweep through. So this time around, challenge yourself not to allow your buttocks, your hamstring to touch the ground. You might even challenge yourself not to allow your shoe to touch the ground. So in this case, I'm just gonna show you how. Hands up, my feet is up, and then from here, I'm gonna push through, and then coming back up. Knees on. Push through, and then up. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, I'm gonna go on to the other side. Go ahead, finish up 10. Switch side. My left knee or your right knee is on the ground. My left hand, your right hand is on the ground. If you do a mirror image. Then from here, leg forward and back, forward and back. I'm going on my third and back. So notice my foot, my shoe is off from the ground. This is my 4 and 5. Okay, nice and slow. If you can finish 10, go ahead, finish it. Take your time. All right, now I'm gonna move on to the single leg deadlift. This time around, adding a little bit more rotation. So what I'm gonna do is, same thing, my left foot is up, going down to a hinge from my hip, going down as far as I can. My right foot is on the ground. I'm gonna use my left hand to touch my right foot, and then come back to a stand. Going down 2, and stand. I'm gonna go for 5 on each side. So again, I challenge you to go for 10 per side. Going down 3, and up. So since we're working on torso, it's all about stability and control. Go slow to go fast. This is my 4th, and 5. Okay, if you have any challenge, you need any modifications, you have any physical limitations, just feel free to comment, and then myself and Dawn will try to reply to you as quickly as we can. Okay, switch other side, standing tall, my right knee comes up first. I'm gonna extend my right leg backwards, keeping my left leg as straight as I can, going down deep, rotate, my right hand touches my left toe, and then coming up to a balance. Going down 2, and stand. Going down 3. Go for the 10, as I mentioned earlier. Don't be shy. So long as you're moving, it's okay to fall off a little bit and then just come back. And 5, and then come back up. Okay? So the 3 movement focus a lot more on the rotation, a lot more control, but of course you can challenge yourself to go a little bit faster or a little bit more repetitions, or try one more set if you want to. Okay, so wipe the sweat off if you're perspiring like me. If not, get ready for round number 2. Now, round number 2, we're gonna start off with standing windmill. So the windmill is a common movement for kettlebell practitioners. So what we normally would do is extend or straddle our feet nice and wide, hinge forward. Okay, so I'm gonna hinge from my hip forward as far as I can, and then I'm gonna focus on my right hand to raise my right hand up as high as I can, and my left hand kind of like touches the ground. And then coming back to a stand. Okay, so I'm gonna perform 5 on each side first, so you can kind of like see the movement and repeat. So my right hand is up towards the ceiling. I'm gonna reach my left hand down towards the ground, both legs straight, and then stand. 3 more times to go. My eyes is on my right fingers. Extend my body forward. And then coming back up. 2 more times. Going down, legs straighten. And then stand. 1 last one. Hands up towards the ceiling. Body is long, legs are straightened. And then come back up to the stand. Okay, we're gonna switch side. So left hand up towards the ceiling. My eyes are always on my fingertips. Moving forward and going down, my right fingertips touches the ground. And then come back up to a stand. Today's session focus on torso rotation. So if you like to create movement freedom in your torso, if you want to work on strengthening and reducing back pain, if you want to work on strengthening your natural lifting belt around your torso, this is kind of like the session to go. 1 last one, forward, and then come back up. So that's the standing windmill. Okay? Now, next one we have, it's a seated rotation. Again, I'm going to use the stick. Back at home, you can use nothing, or you can use a towel as well. So you're going to go into a seated position. Use your toe to hold, or use your feet to hold on to the towel. You can even use the resistant bands as well. Now from here, using my feet to ankle my stick, I'm going to create a rotation as far out as I can, and then come back to a center. Rotate out, and then center. Movement might look quite simple, but because of the anchoring of the stick, it limits and challenges the torso to rotate as far as we can, because normally our knees would drop. But in this case, the stick or the towel or the resistant bands can be there to remind you to keep your feet or your legs in position. Okay? Now again, try 10 on each side. I'm just going to go 5 because I'm going nice and slow. Make sure that you can see it. So shoulders back, back is straight, rotate as far as you can, come back to neutral, rotate out, and back to neutral. Okay, so that's our seated rotation. Quite simple and easy. All right, now last one for round 2 circuit, but we got 1 more set to go. You're gonna go down into a lying down position. We've done this last week. So a few options here, but I'm gonna show you level 2 first. Okay, so your hands on the side, your head is down. Make sure your chin is tucked in, stabilize your whole entire spine on the ground. Now drop your knees to the side. You'll find that your hip, your pelvic gets lifted off from the ground. It is okay. We're trying to get our spine to move and rotate as far as we can. Okay, and then come back up to the neutral. Drop it down. Try to keep your shoulder blades stabilized on the ground or anchored to the ground. And then back up, over to the other side, and coming back up. Again, I'm going to go through nice and slow, 5 on each side. Challenge yourself to go 10 on each side. Drop to the side, and back up. Drop to the side. Create the rotation. If you hear a pop, should be quite natural or normal. But if you can feel that your back is feeling very strained, then just place your feet on the ground and perform the same movement. Okay, now we're going to go back to the standing windmill. I'm going to show you the stick version. So, hands on the stick, bars on the shoulder or behind the shoulder blades, whichever is easier for you. Okay, I'm going to side twist so you can see. I'm going to hinge over as far as I can, legs straighten, and then I'm going to rotate my body out and try to get my arm or my hand, my right hand, to point towards the ceiling, and then back to the neutral, and then over onto the other side, back's nice and straight, and then back to the neutral. Hinge over, okay? And then up onto the other side. You don't have to restrict yourself to the stick. The stick is more of a challenge to keep your body or your upper spine, your higher spine, in a fixed position. I'm going on my third. If you're moving a little bit faster, it could be your sixth already. Last two for me on each side. And up, and down, turn to the side, and return. Last one I'm going to show you without anything, making it a little bit easier. Hands by your ears, and rotate. And then up, and then over to the other side as well. Okay? The focus is just the core rotation. Okay? Doesn't matter how fancy the upper body is. Just try to get the movement in as far as much as you can go. Okay, we're going to go into a seated one. Anchor the stick or the towel, resistant bands, holding on to the stick, resistant band or towel, rotate side to side. Try to sit as upright as you can and go into the twist. Try to go for 10 on each side. Breathing in, breathing out, nice and slow. Okay, don't be in a rush. You want to strengthen and train, so you want to build that awareness. All right, last one that we're going to do. Wipers again. Lie back down. Hands on the side, straighten your legs out. If you can. If not, knees bend. If not, feet on the ground. Legs straighten. Tilt to the side. Holding it there. And then back up. Over onto the other side. And up. 5 on each side for me. Or if you're new to the movement, you can go 10 on each side as well. Breathe in, going down, exhale coming up. Last 2, and up. And last one, going down, coming up. Okay, come back to neutral. Rest on the back for a little while. Recover. Get set. Okay, so I'm done for today. Remember, today's session focused on torso rotation, allows us to reduce pain, improve strength, increase movement freedom as well. So hang around a little bit more. Dawn is going to be coming up and going to be sharing with you a little bit more about like yoga practices, movements that allows you to work on the 3 things I mentioned earlier. So stay tuned.
thank you for joining us this morning for Prior to Zen, and thank you, Sam, for warming everybody up this morning. So I'm going to kick it off now with some yoga. So like you said earlier, we are going to be doing more twisting, right? And some of the key benefits I'll mention along the way are mainly going to help you with those of you with back pain. And for many of you who do experience a lot of stiffness and tightness along your backs throughout the day, you can actually do this anytime during the day, right? Not necessarily just in the morning, which is what we're doing right now. All right, so if you can, all right, I'd like you to just come into a standing position with me right now. We're going to start off at the front of your mat. Having your feet close together is an option. If you find that it's difficult for you to balance, please go right ahead and have your feet hip-width distance apart instead. All right, so I'm going to have my feet together. That way, I'm more conscious of using my inner thighs as well. We're going to go for the twisting chair. So having your big toes come together to meet, we're going to take a seat backwards. At the same time, I'm going to have my hands come together. I'm going to try to hook my left elbow outside my right thigh or outside my right knee. Now, notice how I'm actually sticking my hips towards the back as I do this. So now I'm going to turn towards my right side. I did not move my knees apart from one another at all. I'm pressing my top hand into my bottom hand, having my thumbs come close towards the center of my chest. Now, I'm not going to stay for the whole entire 8 to 10 breaths that I'm encouraging you to do, but if you can, try to stay for that long. And notice how you're breathing in that position as well. I'm going to hold it here for just one more breath, and notice how I'm actually still keeping my knees against one another. Right? They don't jut one in front of the other. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Right? So having my right elbow this time, hooking outside my left thigh or my left knee. I'm going to press my top hand into my bottom hand. Now notice how when I do that, my elbow is pointing up towards the ceiling. And as I push that top hand into the bottom hand as well, it's going to help me get my twist to go a lot further. All right, I'm going to hold it here for just another 2 more deep breaths. And I'm also trying to look up towards the ceiling. But if you're finding balance as an issue here, feel free to look down towards the ground instead. All right, I'm going to hold it here for just 1 more breath. And then I'm going to slowly come back up into a stand. All right, so that's really great in helping to work a lot of the lower body muscles as well. All right, not just to get a spine twist going. So now I'm going to have my feet to the front of the mat once again, spreading all 10 toes. I'm going to have my left leg stepping back. We are coming into a high lunge with a twist. Now there are 2 choices here. You can do it in an easier method where whenever you twist, and this is a dynamic movement. In fact, it's 2 movements in one. From your high lunge into a twist. All right, so I'm trying to face the right side. If my right leg is in front, I'm going to turn and twist towards my right side. As I inhale, I'm going to come back to start once again. For an easier option, when you twist, you go ahead and lower your knee down towards the ground. You should feel a stretch here. I'm obviously rotating around my spine to get my chest to face the side. Now, this arm behind draws a big circle every time I go up and down. So I'm getting that shoulder movement as well. And this really helps in lubricating that joint. I'm just doing 3. Inhale. I'm going to do 5 here. All right. Exhale. Rotate. Inhale. So again, if you want to make it harder, more challenging, whenever you twist, you keep that back knee floated. All right, inhale. And then place both hands back on the hips once more. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Step forwards to the front of your mat. And you should have felt a lot of the muscles around your legs working also. I'm going to keep my left foot in front this time, spread the toes, and I'm going to step my right leg back. Big step. Harder. Smaller step, easier. But even as you take a smaller step, please make sure that it's still wide apart, that whenever you lunge, your knee does not go in front of your ankle. All right, so wiggle the foot back if you need to. Arms are going to extend up. I'm keeping my baby crunching muscles on already. As I exhale, I twist towards my left side now. So whichever leg is in front, we twist in that direction. Inhale, arms reach up. So now it is that left arm's turn to draw that really big circle. Again, option 1, you can always lower that back knee down whenever you need to. All right, so that helps a lot with people who are just starting out and you need a little bit of an easier option to help you with balancing. All right, one last time here. And then inhale to come back up. exhale, hands come back onto the hips, and we're going to step forwards to the front of your mat. All right, shaking the legs out. And it's always easier on one side compared to the other. All right, I'm going to come into, that was a high lunge. We're going to come into a low lunge this time round. So I'm going to take my left leg back once again, lower my knee down towards the ground, and we're going to come back into a static pose once again. I have my towel here to help me with cushioning, because for some of us it can be very painful whenever we are kneeling down, right? So what you can do is whichever leg is behind, you're going to have your knee resting on that towel for cushioning. Your other option is to just fold your mat one more time so you get an extra layer of padding, right? What I'm going to do now is to shift my hips forwards without dropping my hips down, right? So when that happens, we tend to compress the lower back, right? So this is me dropping my hips down towards the front. What I want to do is to keep my baby crunching muscles still switched on. So if you visualize your pelvis as a fishbowl filled to the brim with water, let's try not to spill too much water towards the front, okay? Spread all 5 toes in front of you right now. Now you're in your low lunge right now, and you're going to feel that stretch at the front of your left hip. I'm going to twist right now. So as I inhale, I'm going to reach my chest to face the right side of the room. But at the same time, I'm going to extend my back hand now. Right hand reaches for the left thigh or the left calf or closer towards the ankle if you can. I'm not placing too much weight on that back leg either. When I include a little bit of a bend backwards with this twist, that stretch of the hip flexor becomes a lot more intense. So if you cannot rest your hand on your calf, you just go ahead and rest it on your thigh like I mentioned earlier. But you do not start to straighten that front leg, okay? Keep that front knee bent, and let's hold it here for another 2 more breaths. Make sure that you're not holding your breath, okay? 1 more. And then slowly coming back up. Do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to transfer my weight to that back leg. I'm going to step back, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Left foot steps forwards this time round, and if you happen to take too small a step, you just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle your front foot forwards if you need to, right? Go ahead and shift your weight forwards without compressing your lower back once again. So you try not to just flare your ribs or poof your stomach, right? Keep the lower back protected that way. And now I'm going to turn towards the left side. Hand that's behind, you either reach it towards your thigh or your calf, depending on what your body allows you to do for that day. Remember, day to day, our body does feel quite different, right? So depending on how you feel that day, take the right options. I feel that stretch deepening across the front of my right hip this time round. So for those of you who suffer from lower back pain, this actually is really good for you. Twisting movements actually are great to help us lubricate the joints around our spine as well. Movement is therapy, like what I always tell you guys. So sometimes we tend to do only the same movements day in, day out, week by week, month by month. And of course, you're missing out on a lot of other parts of the body, giving it the benefits that it needs. All right, so do a variety. Twisting is one of my favorites. All right, we're going to slowly come back towards the front once again. And now I'm going to step towards the front of my mat to come back to a stand. Tuck toe, lift knee, and come to the front. Feel it to the hips already. So what I just did actually is very good in helping to improve circulation to the pelvic area also, as opposed to us closing in for hours and hours each day when we're sitting down, right? So I'm going to come into a twisting triangle now. I'm going to start off at the front of my mat. I'm going to have a big step back, right? So if you have your towel there, you can still keep it there. All right, now big step, and I'm going to turn my back toes in. All right, front toes turning towards the front of my mat. If you need to, left foot may step off to the left side a little bit or shorten the gap between your legs. Now I'm going to turn my body towards the left side. All right, so watch my front knee. This is locking. All right, I would encourage you to keep a micro bend there. So you switch on the muscles that still support the knee. Now we're going to extend towards the front of your mat until you cannot extend anymore. For those of you who are less flexible, please feel free to have a stool or a chair in front of you to help you with balancing and to keep your spine more lengthened out as you take your left arm up. But if you are okay, maybe rest your hand on your shin or perhaps even down towards the ground if you are more flexible. All right, so fingers down or hand down, but you notice that I'm taking it to the outside edge of my foot. That helps me to stay more open across my chest, right? So just see what works better for you, but we do not want to start rounding that spine, all right? I want to keep my length along both sides of my waist, and I'm going to try to show you my side profile, which means that I'm rotating around the neck as well. That twisting also happens around the neck, all right? So it is part of your spine, and let's see if we can include that. But of course, if balancing is an issue for you, you just look down towards the ground instead. It helps you feel a lot more grounded. All right, and I'm going to bend that front knee. I'm going to just slightly. That is your triangle, but we are twisting here. So take your left hand down this time to the inner foot side. I'm going to keep my hips, watch my hips, okay? I'm going to press my right hip back. I'm going to bring my left hip forwards. When I do that, it's going to help me to get that stretch along the back of my thigh and to level up my hips at the same time. So I'm going to twist towards the right side with my right arm going up. Again, if you can, look up towards the ceiling. If you need to, look down towards the ground. For most of us, that front leg is going to bend a little bit. It's okay. As long as you still feel that stretch along the back of your thigh, more towards the outside edge, you are good. Right? Sometimes when we twist, we cannot breathe as deep as we want to. It's okay. All right? It's going to be a short while, but be conscious that you're not holding your breath, all right, or shallow breathing. Hey, just one more breath here. In total, you want to stay for about 8 to 10 breaths, okay? I'm not going to stay for that long, so I can show you more movements. All right, I'm going to come back towards the front, bending that front knee, and then step forwards before you come up to a stand. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side now. So both feet start at the front of your mat. Right leg steps back. Oh, but you know what? I'm going to face you, so I'll come to this side. All right, right leg steps back. And then once again, turn the back toes in. Front toes points towards the front of your mat. I'm going to turn towards the right side this time round. I'm going to extend towards the front of the mat till I cannot reach anymore. Sometimes you might hear a pop in the hip, air bubbles releasing. That's a good thing, all right? But if it keeps repeating and then you feel like there's just a rubbing sensation, don't keep doing that, all right? So we're going to lean forwards first. Left hand comes down, maybe to a chair, maybe to a stool, or your shin, or if you're more flexible, towards the ground. Other arm goes up. Then you decide whether you need to look down towards the ground or are you okay looking up towards the ceiling, right? And then gaze at a point either at the tip of your fingers or on a spot on the ceiling. Finding a focal point really helps us with balancing, right? So avoid finding something that actually moves around too much and distracts you. You'll lose your balance very easily that way. Now we're going to twist, right? So right hand that's on the top, it's going to come down to the inner foot side. Now watch the hips once again. I'm going to deliberately shift my hips so that now the right hip comes forwards and the left hip goes back. Then I'm going to turn, but make sure that I do not let my weight roll towards the outside edge of the foot. So the left arm comes up now. Again, for those who are more flexible, feel free to have your hand come down towards the ground instead of just the fingers, all right? And then you're going to gaze up towards your fingertips, reaching up towards the ceiling, or maybe a spot on the ceiling. If you need to, you can always look down towards the ground instead. We're going to stay there for just one more breath, remembering on your own, 8 to 10 breaths, all right? But if you can only stay for a short while, start from there. Your front leg, remember, it might bend. We're going to bend that front knee. We're going to step forwards to the front of the mat once again, and then we're going to move on to your next movement. I hope you're all feeling very warmed up by now if you are only joining in for the yoga part of the practice. Okay, now we're going to come into your balancing half moon. So at the front of your mat, we'll start out with a regular half moon first, okay? So feet to the front. You're going to come into a forward fold first. Fingers coming down, slightly wider than the shoulder width, all right? If you need to, bend your knees. It's okay, and you can keep your knees bent throughout until your hamstrings get a lot more flexible. All right, so I'm going to straighten both legs. If that's possible for you, you try. Right foot, right hand are going to stay on the ground. Now remember, the feet are together, the hands are apart. So I'm not going to have one hand in front of the foot. I'm going to now raise my left leg up first. Then I'm going to twist from the hips to shine the hips towards the left side. Once I'm stable, I'm going to start to lift that left arm as well. And if I'm still stable, I'm going to turn my gaze towards the side. And if you're still stable, try and look up towards the ceiling. All right? Notice that both legs are actively extending away from one another. The pelvis is the center. I'm trying to reach my legs as far away from the hips as possible. Right? So when I do that, I'm really switching on the muscles that support around the joints. That helps me to keep the legs a lot more active. I'm less likely to lose my balance that way. This is the regular half moon. We're going to twist now. Left hand comes down to where it was. Shoulder width distance with the hands. Right foot just stays. It didn't change its position at all, right? Now, from here, watch. The hip comes back to square towards the ground. And then I'm going to turn towards the right side. So as my right arm goes up, you may again decide to look down towards the ground to help you more with balancing. But if you are okay, you're going to try to look up towards your right hand. So the muscles in the right thigh, the outside of the right thigh, the back of the thigh, are working very hard to keep me balancing here. So is the arm that's on the ground. But I do not want to switch off my breathing muscles. That really helps me to engage the center. It's going to play a very important role in keeping me balancing here. So use your breathing muscles. I've talked about Ujjayi breathing before. Every time you inhale, you breathe towards the bigger lung lobes around the belly region. And when you exhale, it's like I'm trying to say ha, H-A, mouth is closed. Slowly, let's bring both hands down towards the ground. And then we return both legs back towards the floor, side by side. We're going to do the same thing on the other side now. But I'm going to face you, so I'm going to walk over to the other side of the mat. Okay, so in your forward fold, once again, spread all 10 fingers, all 10 toes. Hands are shoulder width distance apart. I'm going to keep my left hand and my left foot on the ground this time round. Right leg extends up and back. I'm going to twist to get my hips to face the right side this time. Left fingers stay on the ground. Now you can always use a block if you want to. Right arm goes up, so I'm really trying to stack right hip over left hip. And if you are stable, continue to turn towards your right side. Now if you are still okay, you're going to turn and try to look up towards the ceiling. Stay right there, and then making sure that your breathing muscles are active. Keep extending both legs away from one another at the same time. I'm going to hold it here for just one more breath. Remember, on your own, 8 to 10 breaths. Right? It gets easier as you go along. Now I'm going to twist. Right hand comes down towards the ground. Left foot stays, but the hips are going to level out first. Right? So right hip, left hip about the same height. I'm going to turn towards my left side. Left arm goes up and back. And then if you can, look up towards the ceiling as well. Holding it out here for another 3 breaths. All right? So I'm not going to stay for the whole 8 to 10 breaths. You can do that on your own. 2. I'm still consciously breathing to switch on my inner weight training belt, my inner corset. 1 more. And those really are your deep core muscles. Okay? And very slowly, both hands come down. Both legs come down, and then come back up to a stand. So you should have felt a lot of muscles stretching and working along the sides of your thighs and the back of your thighs. One last one while standing before we come back down to the ground. All right, so I'm going to come to the front of my mat once again. Feet are together, big toes touch. I'm going to extend my left leg up this time round. Now, option 1, which is easier, you're going to have your right hand come onto the outside of your right thigh. You're going to keep that leg bent. Left arm, you're going to extend it back, and then you try to face the wall on your left. Now, if you need to hold onto the wall or a table or a chair, please go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm twisting, but I'm balancing. Option 2, front leg, you extend it straight. And if you can grab hold of your foot, fantastic. Notice that I'm grabbing hold of the outside of my foot. So if you can, extend both legs, and you're looking towards the left side. Again, stay for about 8 to 10 breaths as well. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So notice that I did not round my back. When I did that, try to keep your spine upright. I'm going to face you, so let's go to the other side. So feet are together. Once again, spread all 10 toes. Right leg comes up now. Left hand outside thigh. Right arm goes back. This is option 1. Option 2, left hand outside right foot. Push into the ground with whichever leg that you are standing on. Okay, so that really switches on the muscles that supports you. Right? So you're going to try to find something that does not move, okay, and then focus your gaze at it. The last thing you want to do is to close your eyes, and then just hold it here for about 8 to 10 breaths. All right, slowly come back to a stand, and now we're going to come closer towards the ground. Right? So have your towel handy with you, and we're going to come into your seated spine twist. So I'm going to start off with my right leg under and my left foot over. I'm going to have, if this is impossible for you to keep your foot flat, it's okay. If it kind of looks like that, that's fine. You just start from there. Okay? So if you can, knee points up, foot is flat. My left leg is on top. So I'm going to turn towards my left side. Whichever leg is on top, we turn that away, okay? So let's have your left arm go back to support you like a second spine. I want to twist from an upright spine, okay, not a crooked one, not a rounded one. I'm going to take my right arm to either hug my knee as I twist, so it gives me something to hold on to as I rotate, or I'm going to take my right elbow outside the thigh, and I'm going to sit tall and twist. All right, so this gives me more leverage to push myself into a deeper twist. All right, if you'd like to, you can always add on by extending that arm straight out and try to reach for your bottom knee as well. But ensure that you're still seated up tall. 8 to 10 breaths on this side before you go over to the other side. So let's move on to the other side. Same thing, but I'm going to switch to have the left leg under now and the right leg over, or foot outside the opposite thigh. Option 1, you just hold on to the thigh, support, sit tall. Option 2, elbow outside thigh, push against the thigh with your elbow and try to look back. So as you look back, keep your neck long, right? Rotate from the neck but drop the right shoulder. Sometimes when we try too hard, we tend to tense up the shoulders, right? Avoid doing that. 8 to 10 breaths once again before you come on back. And this really helps with loosening up the tension around the lower back, massages the internal organs, as well as encouraging your joints in the spine to lubricate. Right? We're going to move on to your next seated twist here. So I'm going to have my right leg extending out. I'm going to have my left leg bent. Now from here, I'm going to try to bring my chest closer to my thigh, but at the same time, I'm going to add a twist. So for some of us, this might be the maximum. I'm going to grab hold of the outside of my right thigh with my left hand. I'm going to try to look at the wall on the right or maybe towards the ceiling. If you are more flexible, feel free to have your left hand grab a hold on the outside of your right foot. Left hand, right foot. Twist and then try to look towards the back corner of the room. And if you can, you're going to try to look up towards the ceiling. So it is a forward fold, but with a twist, right? So try, if you can, cannot, never mind. I'm actually using this hand here to kind of anchor down towards the ground to help me go deeper into a twist as well, right? So hold it here. If you need to, feel free to bend your knee, and that's okay, right? 8 to 10 breaths as well before you slowly come back up. And then we do the same thing on the other side, right? So left leg straight, right leg bent. I'm going to do the same thing, reaching forwards, right hand outside the foot or the calf. I'm going to take my left hand down towards the ground to help me with anchoring, and I'm going to try to look up or back. All right, so just see what your body allows you to do. Just make sure that you're not holding your breath while you're at it. Okay, so I'm going to shorten the amount of time that I'm staying here, but you don't. Okay, so when you're practicing on your own, I like you to really hold it for about 8 to 10 breaths. Okay, so the longer you stay, the better a stretch you can get. All right, so the lower you can go, great. Cannot, never mind. Okay, I'm going to come back up, and then we're going to go into thread the needle. So for those of you who have discomfort around the knee, whenever you are resting them on the ground, pat the knees. All right, I'm going to have my knees about hip width distance apart. I'm going to have my hands about shoulder width distance apart. I'm going to start off with my right hand, threading the needle towards the left side. So right hand reaches towards the left, like I'm sewing, thread the needle. Shoulder comes down, side of the head comes down, so there's a bit of rotation around the neck, more blood flow to the upper extremities now, okay? So this encourages more blood to go to the face, the eyes, the throat. Left hand goes up, but I'm going to bend the elbow, and I'm going to reach for my opposite hip or my thigh. You notice that? Oh, well, you probably cannot see. I'm actually grabbing hold of my right inner thigh here. That helps me to roll open that top shoulder some more. Stay here for about 8 to 10 breaths as well. It's a spine twist and a really nice one. because gravity is helping you here as well, right? We're going to change it over to the other side. After 8 to 10 breaths, press down to come back up. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, right? So from all fours, left hand reaches across towards the right side, right arm goes up, bend the elbow, twist if you can, grab a hold of the inner thigh. Cannot never mind, right? So for most of us, you're probably just going to rest your hand on your hip. But if your shoulder, your chest muscles allow you to, you're going to reach for the inner thigh. So it helps me to further open across that top shoulder some more. Right, I'm going to hold it here for just one more breath, making sure you don't hold your breath here, okay? But just breathe as deep as your body allows you to without forcing. And slowly release. Right hand comes down, press down, and come back up. All right, so that is thread the needle. And now we're going to go into your prone spine twist, all right? This is one of my favorites, actually, even though I have a shoulder injury. So I'm going to move the towel off to the side. I'll do a quick one here. My arms are out to the side. I'm going to turn and face you first. I'm going to bend both knees towards you. I'm going to take my top arm up and back. If this is uncomfortable for me, that's fine. For you, that's fine. Keep your fingers on the ground. Now, if you're okay, you're going to turn to get one knee, the top knee, to point towards the ceiling. This might be as far as many of you want to go. It is the arm that's at the bottom where you're going to feel a really intense stretch around the front shoulder. And at this point, I'm also in a spine twist. So if you're able to get your hips to come down towards the ground here, great. Cannot, never mind, don't force. And then, of course, do the same thing on the other side, right? So I'm gonna come back onto my tummy. Arms are out. Uh-oh, my pet came out. All right, so turn, face the other side. I'll do a quick one. So from here, knees together to start off with. Top arm can go back. If not, you can always stay here. I didn't move this arm at all, okay? One knee, if you're okay, both knees, and you are in a spine twist. You might hear some popping sounds coming out from your lower back, and that's okay, right? To come back after 8 to 10 breaths, just lower both knees down, come back onto your tummy once again, and then we're going to move on to your next one. Twisted roots. All right, I'm going to press up. I'll do a really quick one for the last two. So I'm going to lie down this time on my back. Arms are out by the side. I'm going to cross right leg over left, and I'll drop both legs over towards the right side. And then have my hands come behind my head this way. This is a really nice one that you can stay for longer than 8 to 10 breaths. In fact, you might even want to stay for 2 minutes. It's a yin yoga pose, so great for the joints, not just the muscles. And then, of course, do the same thing on the other side as well. If you're more flexible around the ankles also, you can always have your foot go behind the calf while you're still trying to keep both sides of your shoulders as close to the ground as you possibly can, keeping the lower back relaxed by breathing in a way that facilitates that. All right, and then coming back, you can always rest in Savasana as well. So on your own, you can do that. And I really like setting aside a few minutes at the end of a long practice in Savasana because it really helps me to fully absorb the benefits of my practice, right? After all the blockages have been released, I'm gonna just allow whatever residual tension that may come about as a result of habit to just melt away, and then everything just flows smoothly as it should. Not just to help with recovery, but also it's a habitual thing, right? The more conscious you are of it, the more likely you are to be able to make changes, right? So I thank you all once again for joining myself and Sam for Power to Zen this morning. Look out for the rest of the programs coming in for the rest of the day. Stay tuned at 10 o'clock with Barbara and Kelly, and I look forward to seeing all of you again next week. Bye.